The U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on January 10th over the federal law that could ban TikTok in the U.S. The company says the measure is unconstitutional because it restricts speech in violation of the First Amendment. The law sets a January 19th deadline for TikTok to be sold by its Chinese owners or else face the ban. For more on this, let's bring in cyber guy Kurt Knutsson. Kurt, this is really fascinating because on January 10th, the High Court will hear arguments about the future of TikTok. Then 9 days later, if they don't quickly rule, the app will effectively be banned in the U.S. What else can you tell us about what's happening?
I think that's going to be a far-fetched outcome simply because 170 million Americans are addicted to this thing like they are, like it's crystal meth. How it got legalized to begin with is a whole other topic. Yes, we're being watched by the Chinese. Yes, ByteDance is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. So what will the Supreme Court do? I don't know at this point. It's very interesting that they took it up. Is also interesting. On the 10th, they're going to hear this, and they'll either affirm what an appeals court already said, which was, sorry, TikTok, this isn't a First Amendment free speech issue. No, back to track, sell yourself by the 19th or we're shutting you down. Then you have the president-elect from Mar-a-Lago now indicating a whole 180, like, hey, well, maybe TikTok's not that bad. Well,
yeah,
so
you're
it'll
right,
be very
actually.
Interesting.
I was at that press conference. Let me play for our listeners exactly what he said. Listen here.
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok had something to do with that.
So in the first Trump administration, they were pretty much against it, calling it dangerous. But now it looks like a 180. Do you think from the political standpoint, from the bully pulpit of the president, that he could perhaps influence things?
Well, he's 100% right about the political benefits of TikTok. It is the youth vote. It did help him. And the question is not, do we shut down TikTok? It's, can we simply just take it out of the enemy's hand and put it in the hands of Western investors that have control of the company so that the servers that are collecting data on Americans one after another. I mean, China is out to find out everything they can about every American, not to come steal our money, but to influence our minds. And it's very easy for them to do that over time. It's like a magician being given one little thing and one little nugget about your life until you go to their magic act and suddenly they're pulling the wool out from underneath. You go, how in the world did they do that? Well, China's setting themselves up to have a potent weapon against all of the American public if we allow this to continue the way it is. But there's a way out.
Yeah, there is. And what's fascinating to me, Kurt, not to cut you off, but you're really getting to what I really want to drill in on, and that is, how do Republicans, and we've seen, of course, in the list of President-elect Trump's incoming members of his cabinet, from Marco Rubio to Michael Waltz, who have been entirely against it, now singing a different tune. But I was fascinated by Congressman Mills, who sort of tried to thread the needle on exactly, well, we know there's a China threat, but let's just sort of focus it on things like data mining. Here is Congressman Mills, a little bit of how he's trying to thread the needle. Listen here.
None of TikTok's ownership should actually be related and directly connected to the CCP. We know that TikTok has been utilized as a tool for manipulation.
So will that work in your mind?
The only way this is going to work is if ByteDance is divested of its interest, that the Chinese government, the CCP, doesn't have its hand with the ability to reach in and say, give me your data. Give it to me not now, not in 5 minutes, but right this second. And that's with the power that they have right now. Have they abused it? Yes, he's right, and we've reported on it. It is foolish of us as Americans and our national security interests to allow TikTok to continue the way it is right now. But on the other hand, why shut it down? We've offered an option for it to be divested to where Western owners could come in, and we have alleviated that concern. So I don't know what the problem here is. I don't know, the Supreme Court's talking about free speech. What I think we have here is, hey, for ourselves, what would happen if this got shut down? Well, I asked my two nieces who are addicted to TikTok, and they said, oh, I just go over to Instagram. I just go to Instagram.
Oh, listen, I've got two kids, a teenager in their early 20s, and TikTok is all the craze. Lastly, in the last 10 seconds I've got left, do you see anything that the Biden administration does in just the last remaining days they have?
It's interesting. So the decision would be January the 19th, the day before he leaves office. He has up until that time to say, all right, let's kick this down the road for another 3 months and make it Trump's problem. And he very well may do that.
That will be fascinating to see if it happens, and we will be following it. Kurt, the Cyber Guy, thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas.